strategic move that Eddie is making for AJ? Why are you not thinking, let's get him set up for
kind of animal? If that was years and years and years ago. Like, Clarissa is a way different fighter from when she was back in the
Thanks to those joining me live and to those that will be joining me on our
defenses that she's had to have recently. You know, she's pulled people.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the RoundTable about tribalism. I don't think tribalism is necessarily bad. I just don't think it has to be.
I don't know what he think he sees or what he think he know. But he going to the hospital, bro. Like, bro, you not winning that fight.
You guys mentioned, I think, D-Style, you mentioned him versus Regis program. I'd love that. Sounds like a
old. I don't need you, you know, and PBC and others, in my opinion, it's like, oh, this is my guy. Like, there's a relationship.
Flat out, it's tough, and we call box, and we go to the end of the round, and then
that would say, what do you mean by acting black? That's a fair question, but a participant of trash talk knows.
And they're announcing a fight 3-4 months from now, and he ain't gonna fight. I bet you anything, he's not gonna fight somebody as good as John Ryder. Thanks to those joining me live and to those that will be joining me here on the archive, D-Style. Here's another edition of the Roundtable, episode 162. I'm joined by Joe Habib from Ringside Reporter, Danny Glover, Fight Fan TV, TBH, a.k.a. Brian. How's it going, brother? Of course, Coach Derek Santos on here as well, and Bruce Goss. Check him out at Bruce Goss, Boxing, Jazz, and more. Let's go ahead and get this show started. Look, Bam Rodriguez had a great performance. The corner of Sonny Edwards said it's no mas after 9, and so he wins by TKO in the 9th round. Does Bam, big performance. What is next for each guy here? What is Bam? What would you like to see for Bam next? And Edwards, even in a loss, what's next for him? Beeb, what say you?
I don't mind Bam going up to 115. I think he'll be better at 115. I do think maybe he is going to be a little tight at 112 as time goes on. He's only 23 years old, so he's got some more growing to do. You know, Sonny still is a top 2 or 3 in that division at 112. And I think a fight between him and Julio Cesar Martinez is still an intriguing, interesting fight. And I think that's a more winnable fight for Sonny than Bam was. I just didn't think he matched up very well with Bam. I said that the couple of weeks leading up to the fight. And as soon as the fight was announced, I wasn't really, I didn't think that he would be that much of a threat to Bam. That's no disrespect to him. Doesn't mean he's not a good fighter. I just thought Bam had too many advantages over him. But those same advantages that Bam had over him, I think Martinez isn't as quick as Bam. He's not as explosive as Bam. He's a good fighter, inside fighter, doesn't have Bam's foot speed. So he may have a little bit of difficulty more so with Sonny's movement than Bam did, because I always said Bam was very, very quick on his feet. So I like that fight for Sonny, and I don't mind Bam going up and taking on Estrada in a big fight, because Estrada is a big name up there. Even though he may not be what he once was, he's still very formidable, and I think it's still an intriguing matchup for Bam. I think you get your mute on.
Yeah, and I was just checking a message on the site there. Bruce Goss, what you think of Bam's performance? What's next for him? And what would you like? Do you still like to see Edwards? And if so, what would you like to see next from him?
Bam, I believe I was on here about a year ago, and he just fought a Riverside, and he just stood out in my mind as an exceptional generational fighter, and he just has that. He has that drive. He didn't even look like he whipped up a sweat against Edwards the other night. And he was getting outboxed. It was an even fight for the first few rounds. But like I said, he's a generational fighter. Unification, undisputed. He'll go as far as he wants to. Maybe even go up in weight. But I was very impressed with Bam Rodriguez, and what can I say? He's got the world is his oyster right now in the division. Sonny Edwards, he was just maybe just a little too tough for his own good that night, and I don't know how bad that defeat is gonna do to him. I heard he had some damage done to his eye, and pretty thorough beating, but he'll come back. He seems like a real tough guy. Like I said, maybe a little too tough for his own good, but he'll come back. And these guys. This was Moses. Was this the last Showtime fight? Or was it a Showtime card? I wasn't really paying much
attention. This was on the zone. But it definitely
caught the world's attention that night. Everybody's talking about it on YouTube, and I mean, both of these guys have very very promising futures if they decide to stick with it. Especially Bam. Like I said, he's a generational talent.
All right, we have the one and only Derek Santos here in the building. Derek, what you think of Bam's performance, and what you like to see next from him and from Sonny?
Well, that was very impressive. You would imagine that he's going to try to unify now. So one of the other champions is a Ukrainian guy named Artem Danilakian. I believe I'm saying that correctly. Yeah. Who really has fought most of his fights inside the Ukraine. I think his next upcoming fight is actually in Japan. So we'll see how he gets through that, I would imagine. But that guy's 36 years old, too. Sort of kind of fights looks strong, but he fights, the counter-punching sort of going back. I don't think that's going to work very well against Bam. And then the other way around, is Martinez, right? Which would be a fun match because Martinez switches, but I don't think Martinez either has enough to beat Bam. To the point you guys were making before, Bam right now is seemingly the guy in the division, McWilliams Arroyo is the interim champion, and that's fodder for any one of those guys. He doesn't beat any of them. He doesn't beat, Edwards or Dan Canelian or Martinez, or so, that's an afterthought. As for Sonny Edwards, just like you said, a little too tough. It's going to take a minute. I like that kid. I like his fighting style, but it's going to take a minute, I think, for him to rest up his body. He took a lot of damage that night, and maybe you see him come back. If Bam doesn't go after the Ukrainian guy, maybe he goes after the Ukrainian guy eventually. Martinez would give him probably, a tough time too with all the awkwardness and switching. But he's a guy that's definitely is still a player to be named later. He just needs a rest. I would take a comeback fight if I was their team, and get that confidence back up. And then see, what's available from there.
Okay, I want to ask you from a trainer's perspective. When you have a fighter who's maybe it's not going his way that night, and he's too tough for his own good, like what's the plan as a trainer there? Do you start kind of suggesting to him, maybe he doesn't show you something, you're going to pull him out? Do you or do you just kind of leave it up to them? Like, what do you do?
And, I've had to do it a couple of times in my career. I remember when I first started, I dreaded being like in that, like thinking to myself, man, I hope that doesn't happen to me. But, one thing is, I feel that I handled it the right way. I mean, it's happened to me 2 or 3 times where, in fights where my guys were, in there, but not really doing enough, in tough fights. And, I just basically, first I confer with the rest of the corner, and I let them know I'm in the corner, what's already in my mind, what I'm already going to be thinking. Then I start talking, in a sense, to the fighter, but not telling him, hey, if you don't do this, I'm just like, hey, we need to do more of this. I can't keep letting you get hit like this. You need to keep bringing your hands up, and I give them a little time because I do give fighters respect of trying to let them finish the fight. But I give you an example, a couple years ago, on ESPN against Andrew Cancion. We were fighting for a WBA title, and I had a young kid who was a little bit very good fighter, but just they rushed him a little bit. He only had 7 fights, and Andrew Cancion was a fighter of almost 30 fights at that time. And it was one of those fights where, he was just getting hit more and more at the end, couldn't keep his hands up. And I had told the commission in the round before, hey, listen, if I tap you on the shoulder, that's enough, one too many right hands that I've seen land. You know what I mean? And I made up my mind. I didn't have any problem with it. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have to live to fight another day. There'll be some people who might get mad or argue, but generally those people are people who are not boxing people. They haven't really been around a long time. So they believe we who have been there long enough understand there's not going to be a turnaround, So it's just a question of, can you get the guy to the finish line without taking too much punishment? But if you see him starting to take some heavy shots, there's nothing wrong with pulling the plug that night, man. I always say this, doesn't always necessarily mean that fighter is better than you, but he was better than you that night. And you just have to accept that and move on.
Absolutely. I agree. Danny, talk to us. What you think of Bam's performance? What would you like to see next from him? And where does Edwards go from here after his loss?
Yeah, that was a very good performance by Bam. I have to admit, on my accumulator bet, I actually picked Sonny to win on points. I thought he was going to adopt more of his usual style, the sort of hit and move, El Matador type style, as Bam would try and come in and bully, and he will kind of, catch him with check hooks and spin off and pivot and stuff like that. But he said he soon figured out that style wouldn't work because Bam's a lot quicker on his feet than he realized, and that, backing up too much, he's just going to end up getting trapped because Bam was good at cutting the ring off. So kudos to Bam for able to put Sonny off from the first round. He didn't even try plan A. He resorted to plan B from the first round, really. He was landing some good right hands. Sonny even did a few switches and landing straight left hands from the southpaw stance, but none of them seemed to budge Bam at all, who looked a lot bigger on the night than Sonny. And Sonny's not a big puncher anyway, but when you've got someone who, has got a very good chin in, Bam, then it was a pea shooter versus, a cannon, really. He was breaking him up. The eye got busted, got swollen up from the second or third, then cut started happening on the other eye. So, and then a few body shots I noticed sort of made Sonny wince. I know I've heard rumors that he doesn't, I heard he smokes a little Sensimilia, so he's not the most dedicated of fighters. So yeah, that kind of told and then he's in the end he kind of got the fight beaten out of him. So with Bam Rodriguez, the go-to fight, we saw Estrada in the house, so that seems like that's going to be the next fight. Or he can fight, because he said he was talking about moving up as well anyway. So there's obviously Nakatani, which that would be a serious fight, because I've got Nakatani as my knockout of the year still so far, because that was a horrific one he done in the 12th round against the Australian kid, forgot his name, Maloney. And then with Sonny, well, there's talks of him fighting Galao fighting an all British dust up, which I'd have Sonny to beat him, because Galao, oh my god, he was so easy to hit on that card. It was a joke. His offensive skill was basically what won him the fight, because defensively, that other guy was making him look like an idiot. He was getting hit left, right, and center. So I could see Sonny pinging him about. And then also Sonny spoke about he can make light fly, which makes sense, because he did look smaller, and maybe he might have a decent effect with his punches. But still, down there, when you go down to light fly, you've still got Kenshiro Taraji. So it still just gets tough there. So what's going to happen there? Like it's all danger zones around there. People think because these guys are, you know, light guys and flies and light flies and super flies that there ain't no power. These guys are banging nowadays. This ain't like the 1920s and the 1930s. People talk about the good old days, but listen, these guys are hitting hard now. So for Sonny, he's in a rock and a hard place. I think his best bet is to fight Galauria fight, all British dust up, get some of that UK domestic clash money, and then try and campaign from there, because within the weight division, I think he would beat that Artem Delakian as Coach Santos mentioned, because I think he'll beat him. You know, the belts will get vacated. I'm sure he'll pick up one and become, you know, a 2-time world champion. So I think that's his best bet. Fight Galauria fight or wait for the belts to vacate. Well, fight Galauria fight first, and then, you know, when the belts are vacated, get a vacant title shot against Artem Delakian, the Ukrainian guy. And first, Bam, yeah, Estrada, and then I'd like to see the Nakatani fight. But I picked Nakatani in that, by the way.
Okay. TVH, talk to us, brother. What would you like to see next from Bam? And what would you like to see next for Edwards coming off that loss? You're on mute, brother.
My bad. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, cool. So, Bam definitely looked very impressive this past weekend. I mean, Sonny Edwards is very crafty. He has a good jab, very good footwork, very good head movement. You know, got a lot of tricks and a lot of different skills to bring to the table. But you know, the thing about Bam Rodriguez is that, you know, his footwork and his ability to cut the ring off was what nullified all that craftiness and of elusiveness and defensive prowess that Sonny Edwards had. And definitely his physical attributes. Not only, I mean, of course, we know about his footwork, his patented footwork, but the left hook, the combination punching, you know, definitely the strength and the power. And of course, you know, he can take a really good punch. So, and we know that Sonny Edwards 20-0 going into the fight with 6 knockouts, it wasn't much. Very pretty much on par for the course of what Bam Rodriguez is expected to do, if he really is that great as we think he really can be. At 115 and going into 118, I see great things coming from this young guy. I mean, definitely unifying the rest of the belt and becoming undisputed is the goal at 115 for Bam Rodriguez, and I would like to see what he does at 118 once he moves up.
All right, sounds good. We're gonna go ahead and talk about just yesterday. Ryan tweeted out, I've told my people, let's make this Devin Haney fight happen. Devin Haney actually said this is true. Oscar De La Hoya tweeted out today that it's they're working on it. The question is, do you believe this fight is happening in 2024 at any point? Coach Derek Santos, do you think Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney is a real possibility? And is it a fight you're interested in?
Well, of course, you know, the interest there. Do I think it's really going to happen? Man, I'm going to say no. You know, unfortunately, I know a lot of boxing fans want to say yes, but I'm going to say no. I'm going to say the odds are low that it would. If it is going to happen, it's going to happen at the end of 2024. But I would say the odds are low. Ryan, you know, no disrespect, man, is saying what he's supposed to say. You know, everybody's going around the table saying that, but I think there's probably a better chance that Ryan ends up fighting Rolly and Romero, and then from there we'll see how that goes, because it seems to be touch and go all the time, you know, with Golden Boy and him. And look, disclaimer, I have a good relationship with Golden Boy, and I've never had any issues with them, so I don't really know what the problems are back and forth. You know, who's in the ear, who's not with Garcia. definitely they're doing what they can for him, and he's, he picked this guy for the last fight according to Eric Gomez. He picked that opponent. So I really don't think it's gonna happen. Not to mention Devin is already talking a little bit about moving up, which I don't want to see that right now. There's a lot of good fights to be made at 140 between Lopez.
Well, I think we lost Derek Santos there. Can you hear us, Coach? We're gonna have to come back to him in a little bit. Beeb, what did you think about? Well, actually, let's see if you can hear us. Can you hear us now, Coach? We can't hear you for some reason. Yeah, you're gonna have to jump off and jump back on. I don't know what happened. I'm not sure what happened with that, but Beeb, let's go to you. Well, could always go back to what's on. Are we gonna get this fight, or is this just a bunch of Twitter talk? The more they talk about a fight, in my opinion, it seems it's less likely to happen. Whereas the less it's talked about, it actually happened. That's a pattern I'm noticing anyway. But how do you feel about it?
I kind of think it could happen, and I'll tell you why. Because all sides are talking. Haney confirmed that they were in talks. Ryan confirmed that they were in talks. Eddie confirmed that they were in talks. Eddie was at the Golden Boy office recently, so I think it's possible. And Raleigh didn't show a ton of interest in this fight because when he was reading Ryan's tweet about we can do Raleigh next, Raleigh said, "Who said I wanted to? Who said Raleigh's next?" Like he was kind of disputing it. And you know how the PBC guys are. They're hard to deal with. They're hard to do cross promotions with, and they're not huge fans of the Haneys over there, right? So I think this fight is possible because I don't think that Raleigh fight for Ryan is going to happen next. I think there's a little bit of friction between the two parties there, and there's some roadblocks there. Haney could go up to 147 and fight a Mario Barrios, or he could fight a Conor Benn, but I don't envision a Conor Benn fight for him next. So I do think that this could happen. Whether it's next or not, I think it could happen by the end of the year. They may have Ryan have one more kind of stay busy type fight, kind of developmental fight, and then they could do this Haney fight at the end of the year. Because Hearn did say that he would rather have Haney stay at 140 because there's some bigger money fights for Devin down at 140 more so than there are, I think, at 147, if I'm being honest. At least in my opinion.
Coach Santos, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I got you guys. So I mean, to finish my point, to your point, there's a lot of fights at 140. They're very interesting. You got Matias out there, who, even though he seems to be the guy maybe with the least fancy footwork or handwork, apparently he's got power in both hands. He's walking guys down. You saw what he did to Ergashov. I mean, he basically made Ergashov quit. Ergashov just didn't want to get knocked out in the ring, which, was impressive in itself. But there's a lot of fights at 140 that can be done there. Ryan's obviously going to be there for a minute too. And there's other prospects coming up. So I'd like to see Devin stay there for a little bit, at least another 2 years. If he could, if he could hold it. I know they said he gained a lot of weight for the last fight because look, 165 as they claim, that is a lot of weight to put back on from 140. I actually had a fighter that did that once. And it is a very fast Dominican fighter who throws a lot of volume. We won the fight, but it wasn't good. He experimented with the same thing. He put on 20 plus pounds. He looked like a completely different person from the weigh-in, actually, to the next day. I didn't like it. So I don't really like my guys, putting on more than 10, 12 pounds, which is what they take off, what they should be taking off anyways. I know some of these guys go really high. They should be at the weight that they're sparring at. You know.
So it's not always an advantage. That's what you're saying.
Am I saying it's an advantage?
No, I'm asking because I guess the complaint boxing fans had that he had an unfair advantage over Regis because he weighed so much. But you're saying it's not always an advantage?
Well, here's what I can say. Unfortunately, the fans will say that it's not against the rules. So when it's, there's no limit unless you're fighting an IBS title fight, and that limit is 10 pounds by the next morning, 9 a.m. There is no limit. What I'm saying is I've seen that go both ways. I've seen that go bad for fighters who put on too much weight, and then they're going out there, they're looking sluggish. It's not the same anymore. Ideally, I like fighters, again, when they're peaking and sparring, they're usually, 8-10 pounds above what the fight weight is. That's what I would like to see them back at when they're fighting, rather than go way over. Obviously, in this particular fight, Devin used his footwork, his reach, his combinations. It didn't bother him at all. But, I'd like to see him stay. Like I said, there's just too many possibilities for too many good fights going there. A lot of money to be made. If he goes up to 47, some of the 47 names are not there anymore. I don't see him beating an Ennis or anybody like that who's going to be bigger, just as fast, just as good, if not better with his feet. So I don't see that being the move right now.
All right. TBH. So Ryan, Haney, do you believe it? Is it really going to happen, or are we going to see some other fights next year?
Eventually, these guys can't keep picking and choosing who they want to fight and then avoiding each other, or having excuses as to why fights are not being made. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be made sometime next year, and most likely, because at the end of the day, there's not much money or prestige fighting anyone else at 140. It would only make sense as far as money wise for a Devin Haney and a Ryan Garcia. Only thing I would say about the fight possibly not being made is maybe, I don't know, dollar signs. Maybe somebody wants to be the A side. That'd probably be the only reason why. But if they can come to an agreement, then I don't see how this fight can't be made.
Okay. All right. Danny, are you optimistic, pessimistic? How do you feel about the chances of this fight happening? And is it a fight you want to see?
Yeah, it's a fight I would like to see. I'm optimistic. There's a few reasons why. One, because they've got an amateur history, so they've had about 5 or 6 fights between them. Ryan Garcia is the one who's actually made the advanced offer, even though he's down on the cards in the amateur meetings. So he's confident in himself. So I think Ryan would be happy to play the B side. One, because Devin's got the more wins over him, and 2, Devin is the guy who's undisputed / current champion right now. So Ryan seems like he's he's up for fighting anybody. Devin, we know he'll fight anybody, and he's definitely not going to be worried about fighting Ryan Garcia. I'd like to see it at 140, as a coach said. I'd like Devin to stay there for another 2 years, because they said, yes, he rehydrated up to 165, but Canelo was known to put on 25, 30 pounds. Cotto was known to do that as well when he was weighing 140 and stuff like that. So there's some fight, Ricky Hatton as well. So there's just some fighters who can put on a lot of weight quite a lot of the time. Zerda Ramirez was doing it at 168 and 175. Some fighters can do that. And I'd like Devin to stay at 140, because for some reason, it seems 140 is that division where a lot of generational talents and great fighters over the years always seem to skip over it too quickly. If you go back to Roberto Duran, he skipped it. Shane Mosley, he skipped it. Adrian Broner, he skipped it. Floyd Mayweather, that was probably his most natural weight for a long time, yet he kind of left it quite a bit too early for my liking. Yeah, he beat Shambe Mitchell and Gatti and Endo, and then he just kind of went up to 47 and dominated there. But I think we could have seen even more electrifying performances and a few more knockouts and stoppages had he stayed at 140 for longer. Adrian Broner as well, had he not jumped up 2 weights, he could have, I think at that time, he would have dominated 140, but he wanted to go up to 47 because he saw Malignaggi as a bit of an easy picking, and then obviously got beat by Maidana. So I think Devin Haney, on the scales, he looked great. He looked big on the scales. It's not like he looked completely different the next day. He weren't sunken in looking like Michael Jackson and Thriller, like when he fought Kambosos the second time. So he looked fine to me. He didn't look like he was struggling with weight. So he should stay there for another couple of years and then move up to 47 and dominate there, because if you want to be a generational talent, you've got to dominate multiple divisions. And normally, you know, when you're talking about Duran and Floyd, they started off at super feather. So they did super feather domination, lightweight domination. Devin, this is your second weight class. So you need to dominate that second weight class like those guys did before you start thinking about, you know, just jumping up too quickly. Because as people are saying, you don't want to be leaving guys like Sabril Matias behind where they're like, oh, well, we saw you get shaken by Jorge Linares, and you know, ooh, what if the Mr. Sabril, Mr. Port, you know, he clips you? What are you going to do there? You got to prove yourself, sunshine. So there's guys like him. There's Teofimo Lopez there in a super fight at 140. So, you know, Ryan Garcia. So there's guys to fight. There's proper guys to fight. It's not like, oh, Regis Prograis was the be-all and end-all. He was the M. Bison of the division. No, there's more guys to beat before you go up to 47, because no one wants to see you against Conor Benn. You're not even going to fight Conor Benn for anything up there. There's no belt for him. You know, what's his name? Boots Ennis. Yeah, he's got a IBF belt, but you don't really need to fight him right now. Boots Ennis needs to prove himself against some top 147 guys, and he'll probably move up to 154. So that belt will become vacant sooner or later anyway. And Terence is obviously going to move up. So you're young enough. You don't have to jump up there right now. You've got work to do with your so-called Fab Four down at 140 right now. So I'd like to see that. And yeah, you've got to be something a bit different, and don't run from that 140 division like some of the other greats of the past have done.
Man. Bruce Goss, Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, is that a fight you're interested in? And do you think their talks are real, or do you think we're not really going to see this fight?
Well, this fight, they're both at the same weight. They're both talking each other's names. This fight should be made. See, this is the only era in boxing. And believe me, I've been watching boxing for over 50 years, and this is the only era in boxing where fights that should be made, would have been made, we're talking about them like they're fantasy fights, and it's ridiculous, man. You know, these fights, you simply put two boxers in the ring. This is what they do. They're boxers. They box. Firemen, they put out fires. Cops, they arrest people. This is their job. Right now, it's a different era. It's all Twitter wars, you know. And as far as weight goes, up until 1984, it was same-day weigh-ins. And the reason they stopped doing that was because there was a fight between Eddie Mustafa Muhammad and Michael Spinks, and it was on HBO. And this is important. HBO. They were the only major service that was handling boxing back then. And Mustafa Muhammad didn't make weight. An hour before the fight, they had to cancel it. The network was crazy. They didn't know what to plan on the East Coast or West Coast, you know. And some people thought the fight was still going on, so they said this isn't going to happen anymore. We're going to have to do this the day before. So if they don't make the weight, we could get our programs accordingly. That's not a problem anymore. Even Showtime is not in boxing. But even if it was, same day weigh-ins, it's what should happen. I mean, this rehydration, 25 pounds. That's foreign to me. I never heard that in all my years of boxing, you know. But now with catch weights and it's just a mess. A fighter should fight at a certain weight. He should make that weight the day of the fight, then go out and have a meal. Put 5 pounds, 10 pounds if you can put that on. But that's healthy weight. This rehydration where you're draining your body, you know that. Putting diuretics in, just putting your body through torture, and then coming in at a freaking super middleweight in a junior welterweight fight. It's just not real boxing. But unfortunately, it's what we have today. And if we don't smarten up, it's going to become a circus show. It's going to become an Instagram freaking event, and not a real die-hard boxing event. And this fight, they shouldn't even fuck around with it. Make this fight, bro. These are two fights that they're popular. If they want to go the pay-per-view route, they got Ryan's fans. Haney's, they're saying that he's not making any money on pay-per-view. Put them together and see if they can successfully make this fight. But I mean, I don't even have any second thoughts. Make the fight. That's the way it would have been. That's the way it should be.
Well, speaking of the things, like, here's all I gotta say. I don't mind the fight. Like, I'll watch it. But when it comes to Ryan Garcia, like, what has he done? Like I don't understand why that's like. I want to see Haney against Tank is what I want to see. I'd rather see. Look, I'd rather see Haney fight the guy that beat Ryan against Tank Davis. I'd rather see Haney fight Teofimo Lopez, who just had a great performance against Tater. That makes him the lineal champion of that weight class. Like, you're not the dude in that weight class, so you fight the dude. So those are the two. Like, those are the fights I personally would like to see. And I know that Tank fans, they're working overtime this week for some reason, defending Tank from a fight that you guys don't need to worry about. They're not going to make it the fight anyway. Oh, he's not really a 140 pounder. He's too big. Like, here's the thing. He fought Mario Barrios at 140. No problem. You went up there. You wanted to say the accolade and say you're a champion by winning that Reggie belt. But when it comes to Haney, all of a sudden he's too big and strong. Right. But Mario Barrios wasn't too big and strong. Like, I just want consistency out here. That's all I want. It's a pretty good fight, but I'll watch it. They both have something the other wants. Ryan wants legitimacy. He wants respect, right? He wants to be known as a real fighter, not just an Instagram guy. And fighting Haney, taking that challenge, and maybe even beating Haney will give him that. Haney wants stardom. Haney wants to be a big star, while fighting Ryan may very well give him that. So it's a fight where they both need each other in a certain degree, so it may happen, but we will see. Let's talk about the big fight card. All right, Day of Reckoning, it's being called. Look, that's what they're calling this fight card. Look, if I'm honest, for the most part, it's a lot of showcase fights, but some of the fights are really, really good. Okay, let's start off. Bruce Goss, I'm going to start with you. From New Zealand, Joseph Parker. He's been active. He's going to be fighting a very inactive Deontay Wilder, who's fought one round in like 3 years. He's won one fight in like 4 years. Who do you think is going to win this fight, brother?
Heavyweights, man, they could go either way. There's so many variables in this fight. You just said half of them, D-style. You know, we don't know what kind of Deontay Wilder is going to go in that ring. The last time he was in a war was the last Tyson Fury fight, and he was on the losing end of that one. So dude, the Helenius fight was a joke. Joseph Parker, we saw him get his ass fucking slept by Joe Joyce. You know, he came back, he redeemed himself. I mean, dude, this is what I live for. I'm like a kid under a Christmas tree for this card. I've never in my life seen so much talent, so much heavyweight talent on one card at the same time. And this is an event as far as I'm concerned. And this fight, I don't know who's going to win. I don't care who's going to win. If I had to bet on it, gun to my head, I'm going to say Deontay Wilder's big right hand. But I mean, you know, that's not the howitzer we saw taking David Ortiz out. I mean, this is more like a muffled bazooka. Who knows what it's going to be like? I love question mark fights. And Joseph Parker, former champ, former WBO champ. He was undefeated until freaking Anthony Joshua. And hey, he's younger than Wilder. Great fight, D-Styles and panel. I'm definitely looking forward to this whole card. I'm loving talking about it. And if, like I said, if I was betting man, I would bet my money on Deontay Wilder by probably a 4th round knockout, and he'd probably be behind on the cards.
Okay. All right. Derek Santos, Wilder, Parker. Who do you got?
Wilder, and you know, Joseph Parker, to me, he's not average, but I've never really been like, "Ooh, Joseph Parker's fighting." Does that make sense? Like, I really thought that if Andrew Reese would have pushed himself this much further in that fight, he would have beat Joseph Parker. And Joseph Parker, to me, he obviously, he's above average, serviceable heavyweight, all those guys, but he doesn't fight that aggressive style. I think that it would take, like what Tyson Fury did to beat Wilder, and that right hand eventually is going to land. At some point, somewhere in that fight, that right hand's going to land, and I don't think Joseph Parker is going to take but one or two of those before he's going to either get knocked out or start to fall apart and get beat up. So he obviously, again, we can talk about technical skills. Maybe Joseph Parker is technically all around better, but listen, one thing that Deontay Wilder has proved is that he can be behind. He can look a little crazy. He can be sloppy, but he has that equalizer. There's no doubt about it. He has that eraser. And I think that's going to happen in that fight. He's going to then, I think this is the point where Parker becomes sort of a gatekeeper.
Okay. Man. TBH, can Joseph Parker, currently the more active fighter, pull this one off against Deontay Wilder in Riyadh? You're muted, brother.
So, Deontay Wilder versus Joseph Parker. Honestly, I think it's a very close fight. The inactivity does play a factor, especially with heavyweights. It is what it is. I mean, I'm leaning towards Wilder with the right hand, but I think if Joseph Parker blitzkriegs him in the first 3 or 4 rounds and actually applies pressure in the pocket, because he has a superior hand speed for sure, and he has enough power to make a difference if he can land enough punches, combination punching wise. I would say his chance would be if he gets in the pocket and starts landing combinations and box Wilder and overwhelms him that way in the pocket, where Deontay Wilder is not measuring him up and trying to time him throughout the rounds with that right hand from long range. I think he definitely has a 60-40 chance or 60-40 chance of or 40% chance of beating Wilder. Actually, I would say 60-40, but I'm still leaning towards Wilder. Very close, though.
Danny, how do you feel about it, brother? Who's going to win this one?
I've got Deontay Wilder winning, but this is a potential banana skin fight because this is 2 former world champions trying to get back to the top. Joseph Parker, good former amateur, good inside fighter. If he's able to get on the inside and start landing the uppercuts he did on like Chisora or Keane in his last fight, then Deontay Wilder can be in a lot of trouble because, as we saw in the third Fury fight, the first time he got dropped in that fight, he got dropped with the uppercut. So on the inside, he's very inferior, Wilder. Obviously, he's got to measure him up. Parker, if you look at his best win versus Wilder's best win, Parker's best win on paper is Andy Ruiz. Deontay Wilder's is Luis Ortiz. We saw that Ruiz beat Ortiz. So, on paper, this would be Wilder's best win. Joseph Parker, he has wins over Carlos Takam. He beat unbeaten Hughie Fury. So, Parker, he's got good combinations as well. Nice fast hands. When he lost to, he's got power late on, a decent power late on. He dropped Dillian White in the last round. And then with the Joe Joyce fight, that was like a war of attrition. That was a back and forth fight. So it wasn't like he just got knocked out because of the power. He's always shown a good chin. Hence, Anthony Joshua couldn't hurt him in their fight. I was actually at that fight. in Cardiff. So that was more down to fatigue. He got worn out, and then Joe Joyce just overcome him and put him over. So Wilder, it'll be interesting to see when he lands that right hand, because he will land it. But Joseph Parker, if he's able to work on the inside, Wilder could be in trouble with his inactivity. This is Parker's full fight this year, by the way. He's done 14 rounds in total. He did 10 rounds, and then he got a first round knockout, and then his last one he got a third round knockout. So he's active and he's sprightly. So this is his full fight this year. So activity as well could play a part. So this fight, as well as the one I've got for an upset on the card, funny enough, is I've got Ajit Caballero beating that Makhmudov guy. Funny enough, I have a feeling he's gonna pull it off, Caballero. But yeah, I'm going with Wilder because he's the favorite. But there's so many good keys to victory for Joseph Parker. Don't be surprised if he pulls it off.
Very interesting. So I have a bet on this fight, Joe. I have got pretty good odds, but Wilder round 1 through 6 knockout. So that's I got pretty good odds with that. About 1.5 to 1 odds for that. So am I going to win that bet?
Yeah, I think you're going to win that bet. And that's no disrespect to Parker. Parker's a solid guy. All around, he's good at everything. But he's not great at anything. He's very well-rounded, but he's just not dynamic in any area. Wilder's a very dynamic fighter with the right hand, and people try to dismiss Wilder as not having any boxing ability. And I think his boxing ability is very underrated. Obviously, when he gets overexcited and that adrenaline's flowing, sometimes he does get sloppy. But when he wants to deliver that 1-2 with efficiency and precision, he knows how to land that 1-2 with efficiency and precision. He's got a very, very underrated jab. It kind of reminds me a little bit that move that he does. Well, he kind of stiff arms guys, and he puts his hand right over in their face and kind of blinds them and just measures them and gets them preoccupied with that lead hand. And then he just shoots that right hand in there. And then even in the Spilka fight, you saw him kind of throw it in a corkscrew type fashion. So I think there's more to his game than just the right hand. It's the way he's able to set it up, and he lands it again. He's landed it and lands it against everyone. So it can't be a coincidence that this punch is just landing on everyone if this guy's not skilled enough to get it off and set it up properly, right? So Parker, as Danny said, did some real good work against Joshua on the inside, and he could present some problems on the inside, but Wilder's got quick feet, right? He's got a long reach advantage in here, he's got a big height advantage, long reach advantage here. And Parker has been kind of hot and cold, right? When he does kind of step up, he doesn't go right at guys as much. Against Joe Joyce, gave him some opportunities because of the difference in speed, because Joe Joyce obviously is not the quickest guy in the world, right? And Wilder, I believe, is much quicker and much more explosive, whereas Joe Joyce is more of a strong clubbing type guy, right? And he's very durable, or at least he was durable against Parker. But Wilder, like I said, is more explosive. He's going to be quicker, and I think he'll be able to keep Parker on the outside. And at some point in this fight, he is going to line him up for that right hand. And as Coach said, Parker's not going to be able to take more than 1 or 2 of those before it's lights out. So I think that Parker's going to try to get close, but I think Wilder will be able to kind of keep him at a distance because of that jab, because of that foot speed. He'll be able to take that quick step back and kind of measure him and just kind of poke that jab out there and not let him get in range where he wants to be. And I just think that he's going to get caught at the end of one of those big right hands. I think it's just going to be inevitable in this fight. And I do not think it does go past 6. I agree with you. I'm actually going to take that bet as well.
I think we're going to see Wilder knock out Parker. That's how I feel. I think it is inevitable in the words of Thanos. So, and I'll tell you what, Parker's not Iron Man. So it is what it is. If you've seen those movies, you'll get it. If you haven't, you won't. So there's another or the main event I'm assuming, by the way they're looking at it, it's going to be Anthony Joshua. He's going to be facing, in my opinion, a little bit of a tougher test. Okay. Look, I don't know if Otto Wallin is going to be a nightmare for him or not, but I know it's a possibility. Tall, southpaw. He has experience. He's been in there with like Fury, cut Fury up, give Fury a tough fight, in my opinion. And he's been winning ever since, right? He beat Garcia when I believe he was an underdog in that fight, if I'm not mistaken. But he, again, he pulled off the upset in that one. He's been winning fights, so you can't count this guy out, in my opinion. I do believe this could be a banana skin. I am favoring Anthony Joshua, but it could end up being a nightmare for him. It could. So we'll see. But Danny, how do you see this fight?
I think this one is going to be less likely of an upset than the Wilder and Parker one. Joshua, yes, he has 2 victories over Otto Wallin in the amateurs. Both of them it's their 3rd fight this year, so both are nice and active. With Otto Wallin, he is a good boxer. He's not a puncher, but he is a good boxer, and a southpaw, which, as we know, Anthony Joshua has struggled with. His last 2 losses is to a southpaw, but Otto Wallin doesn't fight in angles and all these tricks and stuff like Usyk. But Otto Wallin he's had 6 good wins, 6 wins since the Fury fight. Beat guys like Kufman, beat guys like Garcia, who I picked to knock out Otto Wallin in Turkey, but Otto Wallin beat him. He beat Kamil Sokolowski when Sokolowski was on a run. He even, he got robbed by David Adelaide, so he was on a run, and Otto Wallin beat him, even though it wasn't really a good performance. Beat Rydell Booker. So Wallin, he's a good, competent boxer, but I think AJ, especially this fight week, he seems very tense, and it seems like with Jermell Miller, like proper winding him up, gearing him up, it seems he's got that rage and that aggression in him, which it will take to, sort of bulldoze Otto Wallin about and proper start pummeling him and put them together. I hope because he has to get aggressive and get active, and don't sit back, because if you sit back, Otto Wallin does have them, nice Nordic skills. So you don't want to be on a thing where you're trailing on the cards and having to come from behind and look for the knockout, because that's when you get frustrated, especially against a southpaw. But yeah, I think I've got Anthony Joshua, I think, on points, because Wallin's always showed a good beard. He's always shown a good chin, even in the amateurs. When Joshua was hitting him with big shots and stuff, he was never able to wobble him. So I don't see why he would be able to stop him or knock him out in this one. So I've got AJ on points, but I think there will be some tricky moments, but he'll get the job done.
All right, Joe Habib, Otto Wallin. Is this a possible banana skin here? Possible upset, in your opinion?
It's possible, but I don't think it's probable. Like Danny said, AJ fought Wallin twice in the amateurs, and he did beat him twice. And obviously the amateurs are a different game. I mean, Mike Tyson lost to Henry Tillman twice in the amateurs. We saw what happened in the pros. I don't think that's going to be the case here, but I'm just to kind of emphasize the point that pros and amateurs obviously are different. I think this is going to be a competitive fight. It's going to be a tough fight. And AJ and Wallin both don't like to fight on the inside. And when you have 2 guys, like even with Usyk and Joshua, those fights are very entertaining, because if there wasn't much holding in those fights, because both guys don't like to fight up close, right? So there was always space in between them for the most part. In this fight, I do think there's going to be space in between the 2 of these guys, but Joshua does have the reach. And when Joshua commits and is focused with his jab, he's got a very, very good jab, and he can control a fight with the jab alone. And if he is on point with his jab in this fight, I think he'll have success. Wallin likes to pot shot from the outside. He likes to move, stick and move on the outside. He doesn't like to stand in one spot. Occasionally he'll come into the mid-range, but he'll throw a quick combination. He'll pop back on the outside. He doesn't like a physical fight, right? So he's going to try to stick and move, be quick here. But the problem is he's going to have to get close enough to land his jab. And by doing that, he's going to be in range for Joshua's, right? So if Joshua is sharp with his jab, and just like in this Bam Edwards fight, where you would see Edwards come in with his jab, but he had to come into the danger zone to land it. And even when he landed it, he was met with the even stiffer and harder jolting one in return, and it forced him back, and it had more of an effect on him. And that's how Bam was able to kind of step in with the power shots after that. You could see some similar scenarios in this fight where Joshua lands hard jabs that actually kind of jolts Wallin and freezes him in his tracks momentarily, and then he'll be able to get the right hand off when he freezes Wallin with that stiff jab. So I could see this fight being interesting in the first 6, competitive. But I think AJ in the second half will start to pull away. Wallin does tend to fade a little bit in the second half. He faded a tad bit in the Garcia fight. He got off to a great start. And on my card, he ended up winning the fight like 8-4. But early on, he was way ahead. And Garcia kind of closed the gap a little bit. Fury got off to a good start against Fury. Then Fury came on strong in the second half there because he likes to move a lot. So I think AJ will win an 8-4 type decision here. It could have some rough patches where, in the beginning, it may not look aesthetically pleasing, or it may not look dominant in AJ's favor early on, but I think he'll figure it out and pull away in the second half. And I think he'll get an 8-4. And I think a good bet in this fight is just to bet AJ by decision. That's a good bet. I would bet AJ by decision, Wilder by knockout in rounds 1 through 6. Maybe can even make a parlay out of that. That'd be a good payoff.
Yeah, there you go. Derek Santos, is this a possible upset in your opinion, or is AJ running away with it?
I mean, it's possible, but it has a lot more to do with what AJ shows up. As was talked before, AJ's been riled up a little bit by Miller. I think he needs to focus on Wallin.
Yeah.
Definitely use a great jab, like was said before, pointing out. When he focuses on that, it's hard to get past that jab. He's a big guy, strong jab, tall, long. But Wallin, if the Wallin that fought Fury shows up, and AJ has got his mind halfway somewhere else, which we know that has happened before, this could be like a slippery slope at times. Wallin beat Garcia, but Garcia, Wallin was 15, 20 pounds heavier than Garcia, I think, that fight. Garcia, truth be told, is really a cruiserweight. Just put on enough weight to be a heavyweight. So I wasn't terribly surprised to beat Garcia. But he's a southpaw, as again was pointing out. AJ, if he starts having trouble, fighters, you have to understand this, man. Fighters are really funny in the mental. They start doubting themselves a little bit, start thinking about the southpaw stance. If Wallin wins, just to say, a couple rounds, or makes AJ look bad at any point, fighters implode in their head, man. And a lot of times it has nothing to do with their physical skill. It's a lot to do with their mental. And, I think if AJ gets into the wrong mindset, there's a more of a possibility for that. That said, I would pick AJ. I have AJ on paper. If AJ focuses, he should win the fight. He's the bigger, younger, stronger fighter. More naturally skilled. But it is a fight where you wonder, if there's a little slip up, if the mind starts thinking, he's landing some punches. Oh, damn, a southpaw again. Or Wallin happens to show up as tough as he did with Fury. Because I was there. By the way, during that fight, Fury Wallin, and Fury was joking around with Wallin backstage before we went out for the weigh-ins. So I think that Fury, in a way, also didn't take Wallin as serious as he probably should have. And then the night got a little longer for him, and he had to, buckle down to get the win. So it's a possibility, a small possibility, but definitely a possibility, and obviously would be the upset of the evening. Maybe even, close, being the heavyweight division could be the upset of the year. But if I had to make a bet today, I definitely would go with Joshua by decision.
Okay. All right.
And as you said, coach, also you said if AJ's, if Otto Wallin is motivated like when he did against Fury, but also the way he outboxed Dominic Brazil was very impressive as well. Which people forget about that one as well.
Yeah, that was a pretty good performance for sure. TVH, Wallin versus AJ, possible upset here, or do you think AJ runs away with it?
And after this, I got to run. But I'm gonna say yeah. And here's why. I've seen Otto Wallin do very well against Tyson Fury, and not to say that he's nowhere. They're not the same boxer, him and AJ, but I've seen him do well against quality opposition of heavyweights, and I believe with AJ, I just don't. If I'm a fan of AJ, I would not be very confident with him against many guys. I mean, he can step up to the challenge. He does have heart, very capable boxer. Good boxing skills, and he has a very good punch, and he has a jab, and he can put his punches together. Problem with him is his footwork, in the fact that he's so damn slow. As far as his footwork is concerned, and the fact that Otto Wallin has shown the ability to box. I mean, I think he has an Olympic background, definitely. I mean, they both do, but the point is that he can box very well. And I'm gonna go on a limb, and I would say that this is a 50-50 fight, and I believe that Otto Wallin gets the upset, possibly a surprise stoppage in the later rounds. So that's what I'm leaning towards right now.
Okay. Hey.
But yeah, hey, real quick, D-Style salute to you, Joe Habib, Danny Glover, and Bruce Gaz, Derek Santos. Salute to y'all.
How's it going, brother?
All right.
Bruce Gaz. Possible banana skin here. Are you feeling the upset too, or are you going with AJ?
Okay, just looking at this fight as Wilder against Wallin, I think I'm sorry, AJ against Wallin. I think Joshua wins a unanimous decision. But a lot of things been going on in Joshua's head lately. I mean, like even after that fight with Usyk, when he was throwing those belts around, and how many belts you got? 5. Let's have 5 cheers. I mean, it looks like something's not right upstairs. And we saw him getting in that back and forth with Big Baby Miller, telling him he wasn't worthy of a fight, to go look elsewhere. He started naming lower class heavyweights. I mean, you can tell that he's just. I don't think his mind is on this fight. And I want to see the press conference tomorrow, and I want to see them go back and forth, and I want to see how, because Joshua, sometimes he can shut it all off. He can become a stoic fighter and have that tunnel vision, and maybe possibly win this fight by like I said, by the decision. But if his head's off, maybe Wallin's going to catch that and try to get into him. Wallin's been a very active fighter since that loss to Tyson Fury. I mean, we just mentioned all the fights that he came back with. He looked very impressive. I thought the first comeback fight with Travis Kaufman, I was very impressed by him, and he's continued to do that. He's been steadily improving, and he's got a granite chin, but he doesn't have much of a punch. So heavyweight fights, anything can happen. Once again, man, like I said, I'm digging this whole card. But if I don't see a more balanced Anthony Joshua at the press conference, then I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say that he could be beaten, maybe even knocked out again, because that's already happened in his career. So, I mean, this is great stuff for what they've been giving us lately, for putting this fight on. all on the same card on a Saturday afternoon of all times, bro. I mean, this is like a present for an old man like me. And yeah,
That's right.
I'm digging it, man.
Early Christmas, right?
That's another thing. That's another thing that's killing boxing. These crazy times that they're showing these pay-per-view fights on. Nobody on the East Coast is going to have a party at from midnight to 1 to watch a main event, man. I mean, it's a whole different world right now, and I think Saudi Arabia might be understanding that and might be realizing that. Who knows? But I think that's one of the things that's doing the job on boxing is the timing.
For sure. Shout out to Ringside Reporter Live. Says Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everyone. May there be peace on earth. HCP forever. All right. Thanks so much for the support, brother. By the way, make sure you guys hit the like button. Make sure you share this on your social media, on your X. Shout out to Lisa Bales, always shares the shows, and I definitely appreciate it. For sure. The one and only Dave in the building. How's it going, Dave?
Doing good. What's good?
Hey, just chilling, man. Shout out to him to check out his show, the Shoe
702 in the house, folks.
702. That's right, 702. Hey, Dave, Otto Wallin, Anthony Joshua, are you feeling the upset in this one? Or are you rolling with Joshua, the favorite?
Oh, man, you had to ask me that one, huh? You know, I can remember what Otto Wallin did to an unprepared Tyson Fury during the pandemic in that bubble right here in Las Vegas with nobody watching in the audience. If somebody could pull an upset, it's Otto Wallin, but I have to favor the activity. I think I was talking with Beeb on Twitter about that. I got to favor the fighters that have been active, you know, and I think that post these big losses that he had with Usyk, that Anthony Joshua, although he doesn't look like the old fighter of yesterday, the one that beat Klitschko, I think that activity is going to be very important here. And I think he's going to be fairly sharp enough to beat an Otto Wallin if he just sticks to the game plan. That's Anthony Joshua's thing. If he can stick to the game plan and utilize his tools, he can beat a fighter of the caliber of Otto Wallin. If he comes in unprepared, which I don't expect him to, then the potential for the upset is there. But Otto Wallin is a guy that can deliver and be a solid opponent, and he's absolutely going to do his best. I think it's going to be one of the better fights on the entire card.
All right. Hey, look, I'm definitely looking forward to that card. Still sticking to the card. Okay, look, it's a stacked card. We don't have time to talk about all the fights. However, Joe, I'm going to start with you. Of all the fights, which do you believe is the most likely upset? Is it the Bivol fight, or what? Talk to me?
This is amazing because a lot of people are shocked to hear that Big Baby Miller is the underdog in the Daniel Dubois fight. And when the fight was opened up, he was like as much as a 5-1 underdog. It's kind of narrowed a little bit, but he's still like a 3-1 underdog in most sports books. And he could pull this off. He could definitely pull this off. I mean, Daniel Dubois, he's got some chinks in the armor, right? He can definitely punch. He's got a good jab himself, but he's another guy that he doesn't like a fast-paced fight. He doesn't like as big as he is. He's not really a physical guy. Doesn't like to fight in a physical fight. Doesn't like to get in the phone booth. And all those things I just mentioned. Big Baby coming in at a functional 325 loves to do all those things. So he can make this fight interesting. And people talk about, Big Baby Miller could get tired down the stretch. He could fade. I don't know. We've seen Daniel fade too. We've seen Daniel as the fight wears on, a lot of that zest and a lot of that vigor kind of gets sucked out of him and dissipates a little bit. So I like Big Baby's grit, his volume, and just his overall size and strength in this fight. And I think he could possibly outwork Daniel and maybe, just maybe, make him not want to continue again. We'll see.
Oh, man. But Righty Yogi, I appreciate the support. Says Merry Christmas. Appreciate you all and all the hard work you do. What a great year of boxing, my friends. Cheers. Absolutely. Shout out to Righty Yogi. I appreciate it. Coach Derek Santos, which fight are you looking at as, okay, I could see an upset here?
That's definitely would be. I would probably put that before Wallin beating AJ as possibility. Where Miller beating Dubois. I've met both of these gentlemen. I've spoken more to Miller, who actually spends a lot of time down here in South Florida, in my area, my neck of the woods. The thing with Jermell, obviously, like you said, he can throw a lot. He's an athletic big guy. A lot of people don't know. I believe he was a kickboxing champion before he got into boxing. I actually seen him kick the bag. You'd be surprised for as big as a guy as he is. And the question is going to be obviously the weight. You know, the weight with him is always, you know, one of those things that, you know, if he trims down enough where he gets his hands going really good and he can shoulder and bully and push the fighter around, that could be a long day for Dubois. We know Dubois can punch, but we also know Dubois, I don't know, there's at times where he just seems like he checks out. You can see it in his eyes a little bit, you know, and even in the fights, there's times where he just checks out. And he seems like the type of guy that could get down on himself in a fight. I've seen fighters like that. I've seen fighters just, they start to either doubt themselves or get down on themselves, and then it doesn't matter if you had the best 4 trainers of all time in the corner. It doesn't matter what you say. A lot of times you can't get a guy out of the quicksand of his head. Again, not a physical thing. It's a mental thing. So definitely Miller could put enough pressure to make Dubois just kind of feel uncomfortable, unhappy about being in there. And if that's the case, Miller definitely pulls off the upset.
All right. Okay. Nando Llamas, I appreciate the support. Nice Christmas tree there. Happy or Merry Christmas to you too. Actually, since we might as well celebrate all the way, it is Feliz for sure. So let's just play a song.
Feliz
Navarrete.
Feliz
Navarrete.
Feliz
Navarrete.
Próspero año y felicidad.
Feliz Navarrete to everybody in your families out there. Bruce Goss, talk to us. Well, which upset are you looking at? Are you kind of an alignment here with Joe and Coach Santos, or do you have another fight in mind?
On that card, I mean, I know every fighter that's fighting on that card except the Lopatia's opponent, Ellis Zorro. I had to go look him up, but he's undefeated. I mean, that right there would be something to make us all stop what we're doing and just to check out that fight. And I think that's like the very, very low undercard. You know, Herjavec is on there, and he's fighting the Australian dude that he's fighting is respectable record. I think he got beat by who did he get beat by? Was it Price?
David Hay. It was Mark Demori.
Okay, he got beat. He's been beaten then. But I mean, all of these fights, they're main event quality. Anything can happen. But the one you're speaking of, the Big Baby Miller, and the and Daniel Dubois. We've seen Dubois in some rough situations. We've seen him knocked down in title fights. We've seen him get his head destroyed by Joe Joyce. I don't know how much drive he's going to have. And Big Baby Miller, this is his first chance on the big stage in a long time. I mean, you know, this is a dude that's been caught with every known steroid to man and some that aren't even known. Doctors didn't even have freaking tests for him. I mean, they were calling the guy DDD against CVS. I mean, this fight's made for freaking TV. You know, I mean, just the fact where he said when he first got caught with the performance enhancing drugs, he said they were for erectile dysfunction. And bro, freaking Dubois not even cashing in on that. I mean, they could definitely be an upset here. I think Big Baby is on fire, and I think that 350 pounds is going to turn into like a butter bean in his prime. I think he's going to knock out Dana Dubois. That's right. That's going to be one of the upsets. And Frank Sanchez and Junior Fa. Frank Sanchez has been waiting to do something. I think he's going to have to make a real stellar performance here to be called back up, to be in contention. So, I mean, man, like I said, these styles, Santa Claus has been good to me this Christmas, bro. I can't complain whatsoever, man.
Okay, right. Radio is asking, no, to answer your question, no, there's no weight limit at heavyweight. That's
Right,
the
I call
way
it
it
heavy.
is. That's right. Shoe Shine, what is the upset you're looking forward to after that? Danny, go after him. I'll be right back, guys.
Actually, I'm curious if anybody on the panel thinks the potential for the eye injury to resurface with such a big puncher like Miller is in play here, because it seems that the heavy-handed guys and like you guys said, maybe he might fade at the end, but I think this is the one we were talking about, Beeb. If Miller can get to him early and cause some damage and really target that eye, I think that eye crumbles again. These aren't smaller weighted fighters, I think that eye could potentially crumble. So there is a good potential for upset here on this one. And also, I think that the Parker fight could potentially be a big shocker if he upsets a Deontay Wilder. I really don't know where Deontay Wilder's headspace is at right now. Yes, power is the last thing to go in the heavyweight division, but Parker's been awfully active on this stage, on the international stage. He's former world champion too. He could box, he can carry a punch, and Deontay Wilder, I just don't know what Deontay Wilder. I know that he went on a DMT thing to kind of like flesh out, the trajectory of his boxing career. And I don't know if the DMT is going to help any bit. And if he's back in form, the kind of form that's going to lead him back to a second title opportunity to be a world champion again. So what happened to D-Style? Who's in charge of the show? Beeb, you want to take over?
Oh, Dave's going to go. Daniel's going to
go. Okay, great.
Yeah, so funny enough, on my accumulator, I've got Big Baby Miller to win this by stoppage because, I know Daniel, he's from near me, down the road actually in Southeast London, but he's shown heart problems, faulty heart problems. You saw I was out in Poland supporting him. He nearly got it done with the body shot, but once Usyk managed to get up and started putting, when Joe Joyce hit him with the jab, he took a knee. Usyk hit him with a jab, he took a knee, and this fight is going to be won on confidence. Now, we know Jermell Miller is a very confident man. He probably has insecurities, hence why he does resort to the pharmaceutical substances a lot, but he is a confident, big mouth New Yorker, and all that talk. Yes, Daniel Dubois is not computing most of it, hence he's not got any good retort back. But I think once Jermell Miller starts putting the pressure on Dubois, he's going to crumble, and he's going to look for the fire exit door, unfortunately. The one I think that is going to be the upset, what happens, the big one, which people are not looking at, is, as I said earlier, I think it's going to be Ajit Kabayel beating Makhmudov. Because Makhmudov, he's only fought stationary targets so far, and Ajit Kabayel is a good boxer, unbeaten. And unless people, Makhmudov can be outboxed. I remember years ago in the amateurs, Junior Farr has a victory over Makhmudov, outboxed him. So, people say, oh, what's Junior Farr doing here, whatever. But he's quite an accomplished boxer as well himself. But I think I've got Ajit Kabayel to beat Makhmudov on points. So look out for that one as the dark side one. If there was the biggest massive upset, I think it would be probably Mark Demore beating Hrgovic. I don't see how that comes off. If he was to pull that off, then that would be like, where did that come from? Like, this guy learned how to box on YouTube videos. So that would be, I just can't see that happening. So if that was to happen, that would be the biggest shock to me.
Look, we've seen MMA fighters cross over, kickboxers cross over, social media stars cross over. I never seen folk heroes like Zorro cross over.
He went my school. Ellis Zorro went my school.
Did he? Does he have a shot? Does that have a shot?
The big jump up in class that he's taking.
Oh, man. They're going to take away his sword, take away his cape. He's got no shot. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Poor Zorro. But I do agree with most that Miller has the best shot. He could get in Dubois' head. I like what Frank Warren said at one of the press conferences. He said, we need to stop this. We need to stop this, Dubois. You can't let him do this. And Dubois just sat there like clueless. What Warren's talking about.
They went, come on, mate.
Yeah, I'm like, he's giving you a signal, Dubois, to like talk shit back or something, you know. But it is what it is. But we'll see. Hey, Bruce, you just said it's a big card. You're excited for it. Are you going to buy it? That's my $40 question for you.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy it, T-Styles. All right.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Oh, look at this. I'm impressed. This card has delivered at all levels. You know what I mean? There we go. All right. Oh, okay. Look, there was some breaking news. I just want to bring this up and get you guys' thoughts on this really quick. Jermell Charlo, according to reports, was arrested for hitting a family member. I believe that was his girlfriend, but the same family members on the reports. And a video footage came out, and Bruce let us know that's from a Ring camera footage where he basically bragged about how he hit the girl, and he was surprised she wasn't tough enough to take it and call the cops. He's been arrested. Just to give my thoughts, I'm going to be very transparent. I think this is very disgusting behavior. I'm very disappointed that one of our champions in our sport did this, right? It's one thing for a man to do it, but you're going another level. You're not only a fighter, but a championship level fighter. To put your hands on a woman, I don't like that, right? I think it's a bad look for the sport, even though it's his doing, and I'm just not happy about it. But should he be stripped of the belts he's got left for these actions? In your guys' opinions, I'm going to say yes, but let's go around the panel. Derek, should he be stripped of his belts?
Nah. The thing is, we're talking. I agree with you. I don't like the act. I think it's always a heinous act for a man to smack around a woman. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what they say. You can always walk out the door and keep it moving. It's not like he would need any woman for anything. And in the house, he had plenty of money to take off in one of his nice cars and stay wherever he wanted to stay. But that's a domestic issue. At home, it'd be different if, like he flew into the crowd and punched somebody at a fight or something like that. Or something heinous happened at a fight. So I kind of think in this case, this is not like the NFL. You kind of got to sit back for a second and let that situation be handled by the powers that be. If she called the cops and she's going to press charges, let it be handled by the powers that be, and see how far that goes, and then make a decision. But if I was a sanctioning body, obviously I would not be happy that one of our champions is out there doing that, but I'm not going to immediately strip him. Now, if something was to go far enough, which I don't think this case would, but let's just say something goes far enough where he gets incarcerated or whatnot, then that's a different story. Then you can just say, all right, well, we're going to strip you because you're obviously unable to defend, and for good reason. So we'll pass it on. But I don't think that it's a little bit of a, like they say, a separation of church and state, even though that never really happens, because that seems to be all mixed in together.
Yeah.
That since there's no umbrella commission, the reason the NFL does that is because there's an umbrella commission, right? NBA does that because there's an umbrella commission. So, they all have moral clauses in their contract. They all have rules that the league imposes on them. But this is not like that. So I would have to say no on the legal, technical matter.
Okay. Shoeshine, well, what are your thoughts about it, and what do you think it should lead to stripping him of the belts?
I heard the audio tape is straight up deplorable, because it seems like he's taking joy in retelling the story to a friend about beating her. I like the stance that Top Rank and boxing took against Felix Verdejo. You guys remember that Puerto Rican champion that was convicted of murdering his a baby mama that was about to have a baby. I like the stance that they took immediately. that's really serious, as serious as a crime can get. Murdering a woman, violence against woman. Domestic violence is very messy. My first instinct is to say strip him of all those titles, but you are afforded due justice in this country, and because domestic violence is such a messy issue, I feel like it has to be played out in the court system. It's completely deplorable. That being said, right now we're going through a crazy case where the NBA took a dramatic and instantaneous stance of violence here with an NBA minor league player in Las Vegas that murdered a girl couple weeks back, and they took immediate stance and let him go as soon as he was arrested for the murder. So I agree, it's not the NFL, it's not the NBA, but if he is convicted, he should absolutely be made an example of and stripped of all of his titles.
Danny, what do you think of it all?
Yeah, it seems like Jermell's having a bit of a meltdown. You know, he's coming off of a loss to Canelo. You know, he's probably, you know, he's been ridiculed and stuff like that. So he's probably, you know, hit the drink, might have hit another little bit of, you know, cocaine or something, and he's going through it. You never, you know, getting into arguments with the missus, you know. But I heard that audio and I was just like, this is crazy the way he's just talking so casually about it. I don't know if he thinks because that is his girlfriend, the one who was able to beat up his brother Jamal's girlfriend in the car park, like she's some kind of tough person. But that's another woman on a woman, and they're both civilians. He's a, you know, a world champion boxer who definitely outweighs her by a number of pounds. So yeah, this is, you know, regarding stripping him, I'm sure with that confession on tape, he's going to get convicted. And yeah, you just have to wait for the conviction, and then once they have the conviction, then they can strip him and say, "Hey, you're a convicted, blah," you know. So hey, we've got to take the belts off you, sunshine, because you're going to be doing some time in jail. But before they can't just strip him right now because he will just say, "Oh, well, it didn't happen." So yeah, just let it play out. He will get convicted because he's on audio confession like an idiot. And yeah, he's going through something. So yeah, I'm sure it will. But yeah, he's just yeah, it's not good at all. I even saw, because you know, there was that actor recently. He just got convicted of some kind of domestic violence, even though he was literally running away on the scene. You see her chasing him down some blocks. I forgot his name, but the Marvel company let him go over these things. So yeah, people are getting dropped left, right, and center over these things. So yeah, it's being seen as very serious.
Wow, Joe Beeb. I want to go a little bit of a different route with you here. Will Jermell Charlo actually benefit from this now being a villain, and now there'll be, like, you know, interest in a fight with him, maybe against Tim Tszyu or against Crawford? I want to watch this fight. I want to see him get beat up, the woman beater. I want to see him get beat up by one of these guys. It may actually help raise the profile of one of his next fights.
I don't think so. I think it probably work in reverse. You know, unfortunately, domestic violence is in most cases a misdemeanor. And when you get charged and convicted of a misdemeanor, you're not treated the same way as a felony. Whereas, you know, you can go, if you apply for jobs and stuff, if you have misdemeanors on your record, more often than not, you can still get hired. But if you have felonies, they'll take a second look at you, and a lot of times they won't hire you. I know the WBC has that moral clause in their rules. They have a code of ethics, and I remember when they were talking about the situation when Mayweather was in a similar type of incident, and I believe Suleiman said, well, you know, this was not a serious crime. This was a misdemeanor, so we will not take any action against Mayweather. And I think that the same will happen with Jermell Charlo. Now, do I think boxing should kind of follow the same route as the other sports in situations like this? Yeah, I think so. I think this is kind of heinous. And unfortunately, I don't want to be overly assuming here, but a lot of times when I hear stories like this, I say to myself, this may not have been the first time, and probably won't be the last time, right? Because you know, you like to give people the benefit of the doubt, but when you have this in you as a person, you know, that this just speaks to your character as a human being. And if you can do it so easily, and the way he was so dismissive about it, almost as if he was normalizing the behavior, then there's some bigger problems here than just boxing. You know, this young lady, his wife, could be in serious danger, and she may have to get away from him and stay away from him. You know, so. And then there's kids too. So I mean, they have kids together. This is just a big mess, to be honest with you. So he's got bigger things than boxing. But if I had anything to do about it, and I was able to call the shots, yeah, I would strip him. But I don't think he will be.
I gotcha. Yeah, look, the way he was talking about the incident of hitting her is the way I talk about like a chess match I had with somebody. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he was about to get me with the bishop, but then I countered him with the queen. That's how he was talking about hitting a woman. Like it was very disturbing to hear, actually. Just casually talking about it.
Where is this audio? I haven't heard it.
I could actually play right now if you want to hear it. It is on my my Instagram, but let's play it right now.
Change your mind. Look. What I'm really saying is she played big tough girl, and she pussy. Bro, look. I thought she was tough, bro. I thought, all right, hey, I'm gonna hey, can I show you? I hit that bitch like this. In the eye, socked her in the eye. He swole purple, can't open. That bitch called the cops on me. Like a woman. Like a real woman.
That's the audio, coach.
Yikes. Yeah, that definitely first of all, we can all agree that the act in itself is
terrible.
Intentional, it's deplorable. I mean, I don't know what's not intentional anyways when people get into arguments and they get into fist fights. I've never gotten into a fist fight in my life with a woman. You know, I can't understand. I just really can't understand how guys put themselves in situations like that. And like, what's the point of that? At the end of the day, what's the point of that? That him bragging about it like that, it makes me even more say, you know, to everybody else's point, yeah, if we were in charge, be like, you know what, on the principle of the thing, you know, you shouldn't be representing a champion like that, you know, because other people, man, people see things and they're like, oh, okay, well, he did it. It's okay for me to do it. Some people glorify those kind of actions, the tough man type thing. That's not being a tough man. You know, we all know the words we can use for that. That's being terrible, actually. But man, that definitely was bad, and I think it'll happen. Like everybody else on the panel said, once. If she pushes, now mind you, if she pushes the legality, because at the end of the day, this is what happens sometimes. It could be, to your guys' point, not the first time. It could be, this could have happened multiple times, but sometimes women out there, and I would say this, I would implore women who have been in situations like that, you know, you gotta protect yourself. You can't be like, oh, he was just upset today. I don't think there's any excuse for any man, you know, but we all know a lot of women that go live through that and be like, oh, he was just mad today. Or, oh, you know, they don't want to lose the lifestyle they live because, you know, he's obviously a wealthy person. Or the fame that goes around them, they don't want to lose that, so they'll accept that. Nothing that's not acceptable in any which way, shape, or form. You know, no matter what car he gives you to drive, no matter what fame or what fur they put around you or jewelry they put on you. So I would implore any women that's going through that not to sit back and just let it slide off. But who knows? Because if she lets it slide off, nothing's going to happen.
Absolutely, that's for sure. Bruce Goss, what are your thoughts, and do you believe he should be stripped if convicted?
It's an ugly thing, that domestic violence these days, and especially when a professional boxer does it. And see, and like I said earlier, we live in a different world right now, where if we look back on boxing, it's been full of domestic abuse. Fighters like Sonny Liston, fighters like Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali. I mean, just look at the movie. He knocks out his wife and puts her over his shoulder. And see, the world we live in today, you do that and the whole world is going to know about it the same day. Maybe, within hours. It's just it's a different world. And we have to adjust to that. So boxing itself, if they want somebody like that to represent them, all the federations, they have to make their bylaws, and everybody just talked about it, like the NFL has them, moral conduct. I mean, it's something that we never had to face. Just like boxing today, it's one of these things that it's brand new in the boxing world, because it's so common now, and it's going to happen again. And yeah, the presidents of each federation, they have to make a stance on it. They have to put the bylaws together, and if they say somebody who's convicted of domestic assault against their partner, especially a fucking boxer whose hands are registered weapons, he's suspended from our rankings. And that's the way I feel like it should be. Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows how it's going to turn out? Because we're in a world of litigation and countersuing and everything else. So we don't even know if it's going to come to court. Somebody could say these tapes were tampered with, and who knows? But morally, I think it's terrible, man. Anybody who hits a fucking woman, they should be fucking destroyed, man. If I see anybody hitting a woman that I know and I can do anything about it, I'm going to go fucking full force into them. I'll bite their fucking nose off. There's just no excuse for it. And that's the way I feel, man.
All guys, right. Bruce makes a great point. Sorry to interject, but Rolando Romero was on the cusp of a Gervonta Tank Davis fight here in Las Vegas. You guys remember the first go around. Then he was accused. An accuser came forward with sexual assault claims. Then numerous women came forward with the same sexual assault claims, and it looked like there was 9 women ready to testify against Rolando Romero being a rapist. And the district attorney of Las Vegas, they found not enough probable cause to arrest him at all, despite 9 women coming forward with allegations. So even though there appear to be, to the naked eye, damning evidence, Rolando Romero's currently the 140-pound champ and potentially an opponent for Ryan Garcia. So like I said, these things are really, really messy. And Bruce makes a good point that we don't even know if there will be a conviction. But nonetheless, domestic violence is disgusting and can lead to even, even worse things. Yeah. So
it's going to depend if she presses charges, but we've seen the other side. We've seen Mayweather do time in jail, right? And that was Mayweather.
Well, Bruce brings up a great point. We don't know the source of this audio tape that's being leaked. And like, there's literally, I know I heard there was a ring cam, but there's literally AI programs that can mimic anybody.
Do you think it's an AI program? I don't think it is.
No, but that's not that a great defense attorney can't come up with something.
Yeah, because I actually moderate for like AI, and that's not AI. I can tell you that right now. For my
not that I'm just saying that potentially. I don't know what kind of defense they will use. It probably is genuine and
the problem with the ring camera is that
police can subpoena
you could pinpoint the ring camera. You could actually have the hard copy of it. Right. So when it was recorded, how it was recorded, what it was seen in the recording. And so the AI argument's not going to stand. I can tell you that right now.
It sounds like him to me.
They could argue it, but it's not going to stand. Right. The other problem is that there's people talking with him. Right. And AI hasn't developed to that degree yet. But it is, and I don't think anybody's can develop an advanced AI just to get at Jermell Charlo. Like, you know what I mean? So it'll be interesting if they argue that or not, but those are some interesting points for sure. One more topic, guys, ESPN Plus, and that's going to be on the 26th, okay, in Japan. I believe that'll be early for us here on Christmas, I believe. So make sure you don't miss it. Inoue versus Marlon Tapales. Inoue is a huge favorite. It is for undisputed 122 pounds. In 1 year's time, Inoue could become undisputed, not 1 but 2 weight classes. But in this win, is there any possible upset here because I don't see it. If anybody see it, you let me know. And can this win, depending on how he wins, solidify Inoue as the fighter of the year 2023? Derek, let's start with you.
There's a slim to none chance, but there is I mean, at the end of the day, everybody's got a puncher's chance. Marlon Tapales is a champion, and he's got, possibility. I don't see it where, he could sneak an overhand left. I don't see it, though. Anyway, man, he's as good as people talked about, if not better. We're starting to see him make incredible adjustments in fights, take things away from fighters, make adjustments. At times, it almost seems like he's practicing a move during the fight. You see him sort of kind of like almost shadow boxing a move before he attacks a guy with the move. Definitely he's one of those guys that it's like I'm going to keep betting on him, much like Terrence Crawford. I always said that once I felt Terrence Crawford started to make the best adjustments in boxing, and can, switch up, right to left, I said, I'm not going to bet against him until I see otherwise. And I feel the same way about Inoue. I'm not going to bet against him until I see otherwise. At least not until, I don't know what his exact height is. Is he 5'5" Inoue?
Yes. It's like 5'5.5", yeah.
Yeah, so 22, he's got it. 26, you got some much taller guys at 26 that could give him some issues, but he may do well. I think that's his shelf life right there. I think it'll go, he obviously went 15, 18. Well, I mean, he went lighter than that, but I'm just saying in recent times, 15, 18, 22, and he might be able to get one at 26, but I definitely am not going to bet against him until I see otherwise.
All right. 408. Any chance here? Any shot in hell? Any Christmas miracle?
No Christmas miracle, man. I think it solidifies it 100%. He is fighter of the year. Can you just imagine if Canelo Alvarez did something like that, was undisputed in two weight class at light heavyweight as well as super middleweight? He'd be a shoe-in. As much as I like what Devin Haney has done, and he deserves all the accolades, he comes up short. He comes up short compared to Inoue. Inoue is going to be fighter of the year.
All right. Remy, do you feel the same way here? I'm sorry, not Remy. Bruce Goss. I was reading the chat. Sorry, guys. Bruce Goss, do you feel the same way? Is he shoe-in fight of the year? Do you think somebody like Haney could win it? And is there a Christmas miracle possible, Bruce? Can Tapalas pull it off?
No. I think I know he's going to become undisputed with this fight. I mean, the guy, he's another generational fighter. I mean, he's a superstar out there. The biggest thing in Japan. He's as big as any American fighter is in this country, bigger, in fact. And this is the gift the day after Christmas, and it's beautiful. It's fitting right in there. Monster Inoue will win this fight probably by a late round knockout. Tapalas is a good fighter, but he's not a great fighter, and I don't see him winning. I see Monster Inoue winning this fight and definitely be talked about as fighter of the year.
Gotcha. Joe Beeb, you're the upset guy. You're the guy. You're the theater of the unexpected. You loved it when Ngannou almost beat Fury. You were excited about it. Like, do you want to see an upset here? Do you believe in a Christmas miracle? Can Tapalas pull this one off, brother?
Well, unfortunately, when I was 10 years old, I woke up one morning and I walked down the stairs and I saw my parents wrapping the presents, and I found out that day that there was no Santa Claus. So, no, there's not going to be any Christmas surprise here. That reminds me of that day. So, to answer your question, no. Inoue is amazing to me because he moves up to 122, takes no warm-up fights, and in 2 fights has the opportunity to become undisputed, with all due respect to Tapalas, I do believe he will become undisputed, and I think he'll do it in an emphatic fashion. So in 2 fights, no warm-ups, not getting acclimated to the weight, back-to-back years of becoming undisputed in 2 weight classes in the quickest amount of time, right? No filler fights, no stay busy fights, jumping right into the fire each and every time out. If I had a vote, which I don't, and I probably never will, if I had a vote, he would be my fighter of the year. And he is going to be my fighter of the year, barring that Christmas miracle that I don't think could happen.
Okay. Hey, Danny, you ever watch like the Christmas Carol? You know, little tiny Tim, he's 6, or so. The goes to Christmas past, Christmas present, Christmas future. Maybe Tapalas going to get that visit. He's going to get inspired, and can the Ghost of Christmas Future show? Does he show you a future where Tapalas pulls off the upset of the year? And ruins the plans, and he becomes undisputed at 122 pounds. Tapalas, do you believe in it? Is it going to happen?
No, I don't. Unfortunately, you know, he's got a few losses already. He's been stopped twice before, so I don't see why Inoue wouldn't be able to stop him. We saw Inoue become undisputed in December last year, on the 13th of December. He's giving us a Boxing Day special. So over here in the UK, the show starts at 7 a.m. in the morning. The main event will be 11 a.m. So, you know, a nice little, you know, morning breakfast, a nice little one for us over here. So, yeah, I see Inoue stopping him and becoming a 2-weight undisputed champion in 12 months. And that would have to cement him as fighter of the year. I know a lot of people would say Terence Crawford, because, you know, he was in the biggest fight of this year with Errol Spence, and, you know, with a lot of the Errol sexuals, and, you know, saying that he was going to dismantle Terence Crawford. So that could put Terence, because a lot of people had Terence losing that, whereas no one thought that Stephen Fulton or Marlon Tapales is going to beat Inoue. So we're kind of expecting him to deal with these guys. So that might push Terence, but, you know, he's fought once, even though it was the major fight. But yeah, it's a real toss-up between Inoue and Terence. But, you know, everyone remembers what was, you know, it's like the judges. If you finish in the last 10 seconds and you put that flurry, you nick that round, don't you? So I think with Inoue being the last memory of ours for this year, he'll probably tip over the line and become fighter of the year. Afterwards, he can go up to featherweight. You know, you've got Luis Alberto Lopez up there he can beat. But I think it'd be good if he fought that Rhea Abbey from Japan as a warm-up first. Then get in there. There's Rafael Espinoza, who's a champion. Ray Vargas. So, yeah, this guy, he can beat guys up in featherweight too. So, yeah, but as far as Marlon Tapales, nice Boxing Day special for us, but I think we all know where the smart money is, and I'm going by a TKO for Inoue.
All right, and that will be out there in the land of the rising sun. Inoue looking to become 2-time undisputed, huge favorite against Tapalas. We'll see that Christmas morning. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Derek Santos, thank you for joining. I was getting a lot of messages. Are you going to ask Derek about the situation? No, we're just here to talk boxing. That's what we're here to do. But I do want to thank you for coming on and giving us your time, brother.
No problem. Anytime. I appreciate listening to all your opinions. You gentlemen are all well versed in boxing, and that's always enjoyable to you know, share thoughts with people who have some intellectual thoughts and some knowledge in the sport.
Absolutely, man. We definitely appreciate your time. Thank you to everybody. This is D-Style Boxing. Keep it boxing. We're out of here, guys. Peace.
Happy holidays to everyone. Enjoy your
You
time
too.
with your families.
Happy holidays, everyone.